Welcome to Champion Minded, the podcast for those who aim for excellence, not only in the sports arena, but in life. My name is Allistair, author, speaker, mindset and performance coach, and my goal is to help you unleash your unlimited potential and provide you with the tools to achieve greatness. Are you ready to become champion minded? Then let's do this. Hey guys, welcome to the Champion Minded podcast. I'm Allistair McCaw. In this week's episode, we have What It Takes. And just to give you a little bit of a background to the story, I'm in Brisbane, Australia at the moment for the Squash Australia Coaches Conference. And my designated driver for the day, I didn't realize was actually a former Olympian. And it's not every day you get a former Olympian that's driving cars or volunteering, but after meeting Amanda Rankin, I can tell you that's probably one of the most humble people I've met. And listening to her story on our drive and our commute from the hotel to the conference venue, I was fascinated. And it's definitely someone that I wanted to get on the podcast. So, Amanda, thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, it's a little bit unexpected, but I'm excited to be here chatting to you.
Awesome stuff. Thank you. So, Amanda, I get to meet a lot of people in my travels and my journeys, and it's just amazing when you open up a conversation about other people and to find out a little bit more about them. And then I was obviously astonished once you told me your story, and I felt many of the listeners out there could hear about that, because this on the Champion Minded podcast, it's about maximizing what you've got. It's about overcoming adversity. It's about life skills, not just sports skills. And I think what we were talking about in the car, and which our listeners are going to hear about today, was something that needs to be shared, because we all have a story, right?
Yes.
So, Amanda, tell us a little bit about your background and of course your sport, which is kayaking.
Yeah, so I represented Australia at the Athens Olympics in the sport of kayaking. It wasn't, many people think that it would be a fairy tale to be an Olympic athlete, but for me it was a very hard, long slog, and lots of things didn't go my way. And I always knew that I wanted to be an Olympic athlete or an elite athlete, but it was a very hard road.
Which it is obviously in sports, because if it was that easy, then everyone would be doing it. But tell us, let's get into, first of all, the sport of kayaking, so our listeners out there can understand, because growing up it would be canoeing for me, but it's universally known as kayaking. Tell us a little bit about the discipline. If you could just describe to our listeners what kayaking exactly is.
Okay, so the main difference between a canoe and a kayak is a kayak's got two blades on a paddle, whereas a canoe's got one. In sprint kayaking, just imagine there's a big swimming pool with 9 lanes. I raced over 500 metres, so when the gun went, I had to go from the start to finish as fast as I possibly could, and that's one thing that I really liked about it. Nobody else had any control over my race except for myself.
All right, so good ownership and accountability already right there. Did you have that already, those traits already from when you were a kid? Yes, so
when I was growing up, I was a bit of a tomboy, and I gave absolutely every single sport there was a try. If I could have a go at it, I did. And talking to school teachers and past teachers that I had, they said that I was a girl that was good at everything but didn't really quite excel at anything. And it took me a long time to figure out what sport I was really good at, and something that I loved as well.
All right, so that's interesting, because again, in the Champion Minded, it's not about who has the most talent, it's who's willing to work the hardest and work through adversity. So that's interesting. Let's go back there where you said about you weren't the best in everything. So you obviously became an Olympian, which is probably 0.1% of the population becomes an Olympian. But where did that coin drop for you, or where was that moment, that aha moment where, hey, I'm pretty good at this, I could do something special?
Well, back then, when I was around, I guess, 13, 14, my whole life was horses. And then one day I was watching television and I saw the Uncle Toby's Ironman series, which is surf lifesaving. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but it's very big here in Australia.
I do, because just butting in, back in '95, I raced in the World Championships down in Australia, and I remember that was when it was going big. It was the St. George Triathlon Series, Uncle Toby. So I remember all that, and I always used to admire what the environment in Australia for outdoor sports. But carry on.
Yeah, and I remember sitting at home and watching the men ski paddling, which is very similar to kayaking, and thinking, wow, I really want to give that a try. That's what I want to do. But it wasn't that simple back then, back in the 90s, I guess. So it was, women just weren't accepted in surf lifesaving at all.
There was no women's division. There was no category.
Not in ski paddling. Like, some of the clubs welcomed women in, some didn't. Like there was clubs that it took a long time to even have female members.
And today all the clubs are now open to female members?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but back then when I was wanting to start out, it was very, very difficult for me.
So do you feel in a way you were part of that revolution?
Yeah, I was definitely one of the pioneers for female ski paddling. Yes.
Excellent.
So when I was about 13, I joined the local surf club.
Yep.
And went down and did the beach sprinting and the board paddling and the swimming. But I'd always say, I want to do that, I want to do that. And they're like, no, girls don't paddle skis. And I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing.
How did that make you feel when obviously it was maybe a male that would give you that information, and how did that make you feel? Did it make you feel more determined?
Yeah, oh, definitely. And because I was a tomboy, it was like, if they can do it, I can do it just as well. Yeah, exactly. And eventually the craft captain of this particular club said, yep, okay, if you want to try it that bad, you can have a go. And I think he gave me the absolute heaviest ski there was in the surf club. It was green, and trying to lift it off the rack and everything. And all the men were standing around laughing at me, and they're like, if you want to paddle it, you've got to carry it. And at that point in time, I just had the skinniest, scrawniest arms. My nickname was Stick Insect because I didn't have a muscle on me. And I remember lugging this big, heavy ski down the beach, and everybody laughing at me.
14, right?
Yeah, 14, 15 at this point in time.
Okay. So that's where it started. That's sort of probably the motivation started, maybe a little bit of chip on the shoulder, which a lot of athletes are motivated by. I'll show you. I can do this. Would you resonate with that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Okay. All right. So at the same time, where were your parents in the picture? Were they pushing you? Were you the one that?
Well, I had a horse at home, so that was what they were trying to push me into, and that was a big expense for our family because we weren't that well off, I guess. So
and horses aren't cheap.
No, horses aren't cheap. My dad actually had a sticker on the back of the car saying poverty is owning a horse. So that's the direction that they were pushing me in. So every weekend I'd jump on my horse and ride to the pony club, and unbeknown to my parents, I'd put my horse into a day yard for the day and then go down to the beach.
No ways.
And do this ski paddling that everybody told me that I couldn't do, and it just wasn't possible for women to paddle skis. And then I'd get a lift back to the horse club, ride my horse home, and tell my parents what a good day I'd had at Pony Club.
How long did this go on for?
This went on for quite a while, but then the point came where I had to decide between doing the surf life-saving, ski paddling, and the horse, and the horse had to go. Okay,
so at this time, were you competing already? Were you in competitions?
I was dabbling in it at that stage. I was on the beach doing patrols, so being a surf lifesaver and getting all my qualifications. But it didn't take me very long to say that, hey, I want to compete in this. And again, I got told no, so I just went from surf club to surf club, trying to find a club that would accept me as a ski paddler.
And at this stage, there was obviously no female category, so you had to compete against the guys?
Yes, yeah. Okay. So I can remember my first race as plain as day. I was this stick insect, as they call me, tiny little girl with these big men lined up next to me. So in a surf ski race, you start in knee-deep water beside your craft, and when the gun goes, you jump on your ski, paddle out to sea a couple of 100 metres, round some cans, and then back to the beach. And I'm standing there knee-deep water, and the announcer's saying, "Oh, don't look now, there's a girl in this race." And everybody's watching me, and the men on either side are looking down at me going, "Don't get in my way." And I'm there going, "Ooh." But
a little bit of ego.
I was out like a rocket back in and beat like half the men, and I was actually progressing through the heats, and nobody could believe it. And yeah, so the men just absolutely hated it, that they had this young, scrawny little girl with no muscles beating them.
So how did you get to that level? Because obviously, I mean, as we know, the champion-minded approach is that you got to work incredibly hard at something. Nobody is just talented or skilled. So what type of training were you putting in at this stage at 14, 15?
Well, as I was telling you in the car, I used to put my backpack on and run to school, and I knew that I wanted to be some kind of athlete. I just didn't know what it was at that stage.
You wanted to be a champion?
Yeah, I wanted to be a champion. Yeah, definitely.
And that was, when did you first have those type of thoughts?
When I was in the backyard riding the horse, thinking that I was going to go to the Olympics in equestrian.
That's when you were, what, 8, 9?
Yeah, 7 or 8, yeah.
So already it started at that stage of, I want to be a champion.
Yeah, always wanted to be.
Planted the seed. And you didn't quite know what it was going to be.
Yeah, and I just kept searching and searching.
Okay. Very, very fascinating, because I had a very similar background to myself, is that I wanted to be a champion. My first sport was tennis. Also came from a family, not much finance, not much money in the family to go towards coaching and so on and so forth, because when you get to a certain level, it becomes very expensive. You need better coaching, you start traveling more. Changed my sport to running and duathlon and triathlon, and eventually became pretty good in that. But so similar backgrounds. I used to do a newspaper round where I'd also choose to run my newspaper rounds with the bag instead of use the bike to get tougher or to get stronger. And, people ask me, did your parents make it? No, it was just, I just had it within myself. It's something I didn't need anybody to push me. In fact, it was my parents who are the ones that were saying, this is a little crazy, and, why are you doing this? And that drove me even more to go on and succeed. So let's move forward. Let's fast forward. You become a professional. So there was a wrong turn there where and how I got from the surf ski paddling into the kayaking. Okay. Yep.
I'd just finished a training session and feeling quite good about myself and chatting away to the boys, hosing my ski. And the craft captain came up to me and he looked me up and down. I can remember it like yesterday. And he said, "Amanda, this has got to stop. Women just don't do this. It's just not the done thing." And he looked me up and down. He actually pinched my tummy and said, "You will never, ever, ever make it as a paddler."
Wow. And
as a young girl, I was absolutely heartbroken, and I went home to mum just crying my eyes out saying...
How old were you here?
Probably 16 at this point. Yeah, so and that person wouldn't have a clue what an impact he made on my life with those words, just telling me that I would never make it.
Have you thanked him since?
I've seen him since when they actually did bring in ski paddling into surf lifesaving. I came second at the first national championships, and when you go across the line, you get given a place decal. And he was the official I had to hand it to. And by that stage, I was on the national kayak team.
Wow.
So no words needed to be said.
Would you say that was one of your main motivations?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Being told that I couldn't do it and I would never make it.
So from what I can hear is that you had an intrinsic motivation for sure, but you also had a little bit of a chip on the shoulder, which is, like I said, is a lot of athletes, and that's not a negative thing. It's just something that's the moment right there where it really changed for me, where somebody said something impactful, and then in your case it was in a negative way, and that spurred you on to work even harder.
Yeah.
So interesting.
And I've got to be so grateful to my mum that we then went and tried every single water sport that was similar to ski paddling. And eventually I met a man down at the creek, sat in a kayak, and I knew instantly that was a sport for me.
Okay, so this transition was at about 16, 17?
Yep, 16, 17.
Okay, so you start kayaking, and were you able to reach a high level very quickly, national team? And
Yes, so unfortunately I couldn't paddle. Well, I wasn't young enough to be in the junior ranks, so by the time I made the national team, it was a senior team,
Right.
which again is quite different because to break straight into the seniors is quite hard. But yeah, I had that determination and I made it happen.
Awesome. So you were a national champion a few times and
Yep.
ranked number 1 in Australia. Tell us about your first experience of being selected for the Olympics. It was your home Olympics, Sydney 2000, correct? I mean, what a moment. So you make the team?
So yeah, I was fairly, I guess, naive at that point in time. I was ranked number 4 when the Sydney Olympics selection was on. So ranked number 4, I was named in the team. I was selected into a K4, which is a 4-person kayak. We went overseas at all the World Cups, and unbeknown to me, there was a girl who was a second reserve who was appealing the selection process to try and get herself into the team. So I went from having the best day of my life, where I got told that I was in the team, to this then sudden uncertainty around the whole selection process. But thankfully, the selectors reselected the same team, and I was still in.
Okay. All right. So, and of course, we spoke about this in the car as well. So you're going to the Sydney Olympics. You're super excited. I mean, what athlete wouldn't be? Then what happens?
Yeah, so had my team uniform for travelling, so it was happening. My name was in the handbook. Super excited.
So how
my
long
whole family was just so excited that I was going to the games.
And how long have we got to go until the Olympics?
So at this point, it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks before the Olympics?
2 weeks before the Olympics.
Okay.
My pop, even, this is something that really upsets me to this day, he said, "Oh, Amanda, I'm stuffed. I'm just hanging in to see you at the Olympics." So I was at a celebratory dinner for the Australian Institute of Sport in preparations to head to the Olympic Village, and the head coach came and tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Amanda, I've got to have a word with you." And he took me into a quiet room and he said, "There's been another appeal today, and unfortunately you've been taken out of the Olympic team."
Wow. So from the euphoria of being selected for the Olympic team, you already have your uniform, you're already part of the whole process, probably already booked your room in the Olympic Village, and you're told you're no longer on the team. How did you take that?
So it was absolutely devastating and really hard to understand, because surely your results on the water should be good enough. And from my understanding, what happened was this girl, she kept appealing the process over and over again, and it got to, I guess, the last hours, and the judge said to her solicitor, "Right, you're going to keep appealing. Who do you want out?" And her solicitor flicked through some paperwork and plucked my name out. And the judge then, without any authority, selected the Sydney Olympic Kayak K4 team.
Wow. So it wasn't even to do with the Olympic Committee, or it wasn't to do with the Australian selectors. It was an attorney, a lawyer, who decided your fate of going to the Olympics.
Yes, and it's actually become quite a famous case as hopefully something to never happen again.
Wow.
So from that point, I had the full backing of all the Australian team selectors, the Australian Institute of Sport, the Australian Canoeing. They got me the top lawyers to try and get me reinstated back in the team. But in the end, because the judge didn't have the authority to take me out of the team in the first place, nobody had the authority to overturn his decision, and the award that was given to me was that I was denied natural justice.
Wow. Whew.
So totally heartbreaking. Like, I get really upset thinking about it now. Yeah.
Have you got over it? I know you've got over it. You know, obviously with what we'll hear in a bit goes on, but is it still something that sits on you, on your shoulders a bit?
Songs that I hear on the radio. I remember watching my teammates dancing at the closing ceremony and seeing them on TV.
Did you watch it?
Yes, I did watch it. And just even nowadays when those songs come on, it just brings back a flood of memories that are just so upsetting. So, yeah.
Tell us about, tell us about the process of moving on from that, because, and again, this is 100% champion-minded, and why I really wanted to get you on the podcast today, because, you know, some maybe haven't gone through as extreme adversity as this. It might be their high school team. It might be something that means something so much to them, but this is happening at Olympic level. But so in a lot of cases, some people would go, okay, I'm done with this. I mean, this is a total injustice. Let's pack it in. What was your mindset from then on? What was your strategy from then on?
So I did have to take a really good hard look at myself and decide what I wanted to do, because like you have to sacrifice so much, and injury, illness, so many things can just rob you of a whole season. And although I had supportive parents, they were supporting me through the heartbreak of it, but they also didn't want me to have to go through it again. So although they were being supportive, they weren't being supportive of me continuing on, and they were telling me to get a real job, get a career, because there was financially, it absolutely destroyed me as well, because we had all this funding coming our way for the Sydney Olympics, and then everything was just torn from me. So yeah, I had to look really deep inside and decide why I wanted to continue. And in the end, it was pure love of the sport, just absolutely loved it. And because of my sport, I've got to travel all over the world, meet all different kinds of people, learn about all different cultures. So that's why I decided to continue.
Okay, and what was your mission, vision, goal, whatever you want to deem it, from then on? From that experience.
So I definitely had, I guess, trust issues that things were going to work out from then on. I had the mindset of develop myself so I didn't have to depend on anybody else. And
did you struggle did you struggle to have to trust people, and do you still carry a little bit of that today in a way?
Yeah, definitely.
Because of that experience?
Yes, I don't always believe things are going to go my way until it's actually, until it's happening. Yeah.
So your vision from then on, disappointment, what was your goal? And you said you loved the sport. That was the reason why you carried on. What was your next goal, or what was your next?
So the next goal was the next Olympics. So kayaking isn't in the Commonwealth Games. So I had a 4-year stint ahead of me, and I just had tunnel vision. I just decided that I was going to be so good that I couldn't possibly be left out of another team. So I thought, right, that's my goal, and what is the process to get there?
And what was the process?
So I had a very good coach, and he actually taught me to be quite independent, and I just made sure that I was superior, had superior feel for the water. I was stronger. I was mentally stronger. I was going to be faster. Everything better than everybody else. Basically, my coach taught me that my job was to get from A to B as fast as I possibly could. And if I followed the process to make that happen, the outcome was going to take care of itself.
So that's an area we love to go into on the podcast here, is the importance of mentors and coaches in your life. So did you have the same coach before Sydney 2000 as you did afterwards? Or was there a change?
No, there was definitely a big shift, because I didn't really know who to trust. And I ended up with a coach that was outside of the Institute of Sport system. And he was a past athlete, and he'd also faced adversity where he was actually given a gold medal at the Olympics, and they went, the American team, Greg Barton, actually appealed it, and he was then given silver. Wow.
So he definitely knows how that feels to be given something and then something taken away.
Yeah, so might have been the Grant Davies curse that I caught from him. I don't know.
What did you look for in a coach at that stage? What was important to you?
Someone that believed in me and trusted my judgment, because so many coaches would tell me what I needed rather than finding out what was best for me and what got the best out of me.
Good listener? You must have been a good listener.
Yeah, very good listener. And we sat down and wrote training programs together. He taught me how to do that. Whereas a lot of the national team coaches would write the exact same program for everybody, and everybody's just so unique and different and have different needs. So for my coach to identify my strengths, weaknesses, and helped me write a training program to get the best out of me.
So the goal is now Athens 2004 Olympics, and you are driven like never before. You were talking a little bit about some of the mindset and the approach there as well, where you would write notes to yourself or you'd see certain things every morning. Tell us a little bit about that.
So yes, I had lots of things written on my wall that I looked at every single day. Just focus. I had a Athens Olympics flag on my wall as well. And I was telling you before that every single password that I had to every account, it's changed now, so don't try and hack into my bank account, was LK1 500 2004, which was my event, ladies K1, 500 metres, and the year 2004.
So you're obsessed.
Yeah, I had...
Would you put that word obsessed? That
yeah,
you're obsessed of getting to the Olympics and really making sure?
Ruthless. My mum said I wasn't just a bitch, I was the bitch. I was very, very driven. Nothing was going to stop me from getting there.
And you were not taking any chances. You were going to make sure that you were the top pick if you could.
Yeah.
To get there. Wow. Okay. So let's move forward. Athens 2004. How was your experience there?
Yeah, so for 2004, I did make sure that I was the best in the country. I was ranked number 1, and I got to actually choose what events to race at the Games. But in saying that, it was amazing, and I did have those doubts, and actually had to go see a psychologist because there were court cases going on again, and I was worried that I was going to, even though I was the best in the country.
Court cases with regards to your event again?
Yeah, so the appeals going on in the background, even though the team had been selected, people that have missed out trying to get back in.
Is this a common occurrence in
Olympic
teams?
It is.
That athletes that don't make the team...
They appeal the selection process, yeah.
So it's not just in kayaking, it's in...
Yeah, it's all different sports.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know it was... I've heard of random cases, but not that it was it happened so much. So the lawyers and attorneys must be happy people come around Olympics time.
Yeah, exactly.
Selection.
Yeah, but... and even... So I just decided that, right, once I walk in through the opening ceremony doors, I can relax. But again, that wasn't the case because my mum called me after the opening ceremony and said, Amanda, your name's not on the start list.
No.
So I actually had to get a lawyer while I was at the Olympics to enter myself in the Games. So they'd actually missed the cutoff to enter me. So
any of you out there that think that Olympians and pro athletes have it easy and it looks all great on TV, you're wrong. There is so much adversity and challenges and stresses and you can understand sometimes the athletes, never mind being on the podium, but just the tears of emotion that flow of finishing the event, regardless what position, because of just all of that.
Yes.
It's not the day, it's just an accumulation of just experiences and years of disappointment and all those flashbacks of people that said you couldn't do it and you can't, a girl can't do this event and then obviously the Olympics, so it must have just been a flow of emotion for you.
Yeah. Even before getting on the plane to go to the Olympics, I was at the grocery store buying some food and my card declined. And everyone's looking at me and I'm like, oh, and I'm taking stuff off the conveyor belt saying, oh, put this back. And finally my card accepted it and everyone's looking at me and it's like, oh, I'll be on the TV in a couple of weeks. Like I'm representing the country. So it was extremely hard.
Yeah. All right, excellent. Let's see. So we know definitely what, one of the questions I usually ask high performers is what drives you, but I think that's what drove you there was the history of people that said you couldn't do it and obviously the adversity that happened in Sydney. Did you retire after Athens, or did you still continue to compete? So
I continued on for a few more years after that until, and it's really hard also the transition from going from an elite athlete to being just an ordinary person, and that was a hard time as well because there's not all that much support out there. But then I got into coaching. I created a business called Paddle Perfect. So I now coach others. And
what's the website address of that? Paddle Perfect.
www.paddleperfect.com.au.
.au. Okay, because obviously Australia. Now tell us a little bit about your transition into coaching.
Had lots of people asking, and so then I made it official, went and did my coaching course, and the rest is history. I coach a few schools at the moment. St. Stephen's College, I do every week, and I absolutely adore those kids. So,
in your opinion, what makes a great coach?
Someone that you can talk to and tell them your deepest fears, and they don't judge you. You can go to them with anything, and they'll listen. And someone that you can trust.
Any regrets from your athletic career?
The only regret is that I would have loved to have seen how far I could have gone as an individual athlete. All the funding was surrounding the team boats, and of course, like a K4, a 4-person, takes about 1:32 to do 500 metres, whereas a K1 only takes 1:50. So at the Olympics, at that 1:32 mark, I was really, really hurting, and I just think if I could have prepared for the time it takes to race a single race, I just don't know what could have happened.
What, in your opinion, makes a mentally tough athlete?
Someone that just won't take no for an answer. You just got to make it happen.
And that's like a life lesson as well, right? Not just in sport, but just take no for an answer and keep knocking doors.
Yeah, so if you want to predict your future, you just got to work hard and create it.
Great advice. I love that. Let's have a look. What else did we want to touch on? Advice for younger athletes out there.
I really feel fortunate that I found something that I not only loved, but that I'm really good at as well. So if you haven't found that, keep searching, and it might not be the sport that you're in now, or you might have an injury which doesn't allow you to continue on in the sport that you're in now. We had lots of gymnasts actually that came over to kayaking. So
really,
so don't give up, and give everything a try, because you'll never know if you don't give it a go.
Are you an advocate of multi-sports as a kid? Did you feel that helped you? You said you played a lot of sports.
Yeah, I think you're just best to just give, exactly what I just said. If you don't give it a go, you'll never know. So give absolutely everything a try, whether it be sport or music, or, get out there and try as many things as you possibly can.
Yeah, because what we have is this phenomenon today of parents putting kids into individual sports or specific sports at a very young age, trying to get to a very, very high level, and they specialize early, which we've seen. And it's proven that, ends up in burnout, ends up in a lot of injuries. Also, from what I experienced being in the performance industry, of lack of skills as well. The things like coordination and anticipation, and those skills that are taught in doing various things as well, but also just the social skills as well.
Yeah, I think you've just got to, at a very young age, you've got to keep it fun. And if there is a birthday party or something going on, you don't make them go do their sport. You let them go and be a kid.
Yeah, great advice. All right, this has been great. Coming to our quick fire questions. It's either one word or a sentence.
Oh, okay.
All right, so you ready?
Yep.
All right, favorite food?
Lemon meringue pie.
Oh, we haven't had that on the show yet, so that's original. Favorite artist?
Oh.
Or band?
I don't really have one. I'm a station flicker.
Okay, so depending on the mood?
Yeah,
a little bit like me as well.
I know what I don't like, but... All
right, what's that?
Oh, heavy metal.
Okay.
Yeah.
not the mood for that, okay. Favorite city or country, or both?
Oh, Austria.
Austria?
Yeah, love it. Beautiful.
Okay. Is it because it's so close to Australia, the way it's said? Not in a geographical sense, but...
We had many training camps there, and it was just beautiful.
In Austria?
Yeah.
All right. Where, Linz, Graz?
A little town called Ottenstein, which is near Linz.
Okay, it's beautiful there, isn't it?
Been
to Austria a few times. Pet peeves?
Smokers,
okay. Yeah, Australia is very anti-smoking, which I'm super happy about as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tea, coffee, or protein shake?
Tea. I've got an allergy against caffeine, so decaf tea bags.
All right. Favorite book?
Oh, Seabiscuit.
Seabiscuit, all right. Your worst habit?
Lately it's being late.
Being late?
I try to cram way too much in, which sometimes doesn't work out.
Okay. Let's have a look. Your best trait? Your strength?
I'm honest, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I've picked that up definitely in our conversations. One word to describe you, which could be similar.
Yeah, honest.
Honest.
Yeah.
You're gonna stick with that one. I like that.
I'm true to my word.
All right, excellent. This has been fantastic. If people want to reach out to you and find out a little bit more about you or get in touch, what would be the best way, Amanda?
So if you just search for Paddle Perfect, I'm on Facebook, or you can find my website.
Okay, under Paddle Perfect,
paddleperfect.com.au.
Awesome. Amanda, as I usually do with all my guests on the show, I'd like to present you with Champion Minded, the book.
Thank you.
I've signed that as well for you as well.
Excellent.
And there's some information in there about time management as well, and timekeeping.
Yes.
So we could, which is about being champion minded. But thanks again for coming on to the show. It's been inspiring, and I know a lot of listeners out there are going to really benefit from this.
Yeah, I hope I helped somebody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed that one for this week on the Champion Minded podcast. Remember that this podcast is available on iTunes and on YouTube on the Champion Minded channel. Social media, I'm at Allistair McCall on Twitter, Facebook McCall Method, and on Instagram, Be Champion Minded. So remember, you were made for greatness. Now go do the work. Until next time, stay champion minded, my friends.